All right, most important thing, last piece of the MP3, and this is gold. I didn't figure this out till 9 months ago, and I went and re-recorded my free MP3. And guess what? You can do that, and you can make these things better when you only have a small number of moving parts, right? Not 500 things, but like 10 things. The MP3 is one of them. I realized that what I used to do is kind of, at the end of my MP3, you got to make your offer. And you say at the beginning of the MP3, you're going to discover this, and the last thing you say is you're going to learn how you can work more with me one-on-one if you're interested, blah, blah. Well, when you get to the last 10 minutes and you're making your offer, 10 minutes seems like a long time. It's not, if you do it right. What I used to do is just share success stories. You know, I packed in a bunch of case study success stories. What I did the last time when I re-recorded it, when I got to my close, I say something like this at the beginning. I say, now, and even if you have a new business, you can say this. You can't say, what I said when I re-recorded is, I've been doing this coaching business for 2 years now, so I've learned a lot of things, and I know what's going through your head right now. If you're brand new, you can't say that, but you can say, I could say, I've worked with authors for a long time. Or I've been knowledgeable about this industry for a long time. So I can imagine right now, you're probably thinking one of the following thoughts, okay? And what I do now is I use testimonials to handle people's resistance. So they're specific, right? So if you're an author in my author close, I'm not just sharing random testimonials. I make sure I have one from someone who's international. I have from someone who's younger, someone who's older. I make sure I have nonfiction authors and fiction authors represented. Okay, that's kind of, you could figure that out. But here's the piece. I know I have different kinds of clients, and sometimes you have to coach for a while to figure out what they are. But I know, I say, okay, maybe you're worried because you've already sent out 300 query letters to agents, and not one of them has responded to you positively yet. Let me tell you about Jan. She had sent out 300 queries over the 6 years, spending $60 a month on postage, and this is her word she gave me. Never got a nibble. After we rewrote her query letter, she got, within 7 days, 3 agents asking to read her complete manuscript. Okay? And then I go to the next one and the next one and the next one. The next one might be, or, you know, maybe you used to have an agent or publisher and they dropped you. And so now you think it's hopeless, you can't go get back in again. Let me tell you what happened to Jim. So it's not just random testimonials. I've really clearly identified over time really specific case studies and testimonials that are going to hit whatever resistance your prospect has. All right? Make sense? Okay. All right. So why do we do only paid consultations, introductory calls, as coaches, even though it seems like everybody in the industry offers what? Free, okay? Are consumers stupid? Oh, okay, fair enough, fair enough. But here's the idea. What do most consumers realize that the free consulting call is all about? It's really just a ploy to get into the paid program, okay? So again, we say don't follow the trends in your industry, okay? Here's why. We use that to our advantage. We'll say, hey, you know what? The only people offering free coaching, it's because they're not successful enough that they can charge for an introductory call, or it's just a kind of a veiled attempt to get you into a bigger program. We don't do that. This is going to be a real coaching introductory call you do with us. We assume we're never going to get to talk to you again because we're not presumptuous. We're going to give you as many concrete strategies as we can during that hour. At the end, if you're interested, we're not going to pitch you for 20 minutes at the end of the call. We have proposals that will do that. All right? So that's our approach. And if you don't think this can work, I just had to raise my prices for my author coaching introductory call because I had 2 months ago, 2 months in a row, I had 30 people per month signing to pay up $97 for an introductory coaching call for the author coaching. And so now I'm spoiled. Now I'm like, you know, 2 years ago I'd been thrilled to have that, and now I'm like, man, I don't want some of these suckers. Like some of these people, only $97, you know, I'm getting the looky-loos. I'm getting people that can't write. I'm getting people that aren't serious, and I'm getting people that can afford the 97 but not my bigger program. And do I really want to talk to them? Once in a while, but not a lot, right? So I bumped up the price to $297. Am I getting only half of the signups now? Yeah, but guess what? I'm making the same thing or more, and I'm getting more quality people that are a better fit. And you know what else that forced me to do? I was shaking in my boots. Ingrid will do it, no problem. But I'm like, oh man, I'm going to raise it from 90. It's already not free. I'm charging 97 bucks. Nobody does that. Now I'm going to raise it to 297. How am I going to do that? No one's going to come, you know? Terrifying. And then all of a sudden, just do it. It forced me to get more clear about the value of what happens, okay? During that hour together, what I do before the hour, what I do after the hour, and it's working, okay? So here's the thing. Most of those 30 people a month, you know where they're coming from? I'm not doing a whole lot. I'll try to do one event kind of like this a month to kind of get exposure. But a lot of those people are just finding me online through search engine optimization. That's one of my three exposure strategies that I use that work for me. Ingrid thought I was crazy, and rightfully so, because I've come up with a lot of other ideas on how, oh, this is going to be the big one, this is going to make the big difference for our business, we're going to get tons of clients. Well, guess what? Search engine optimization actually stuck for me. I got a coach for search engine optimization. I spent 6 months totally redoing my site, writing tons of content, locking myself up in the room, Ingrid thinking I'm crazy, but now that's working, and that's where I get most of my clients now. So I don't have to go out and do events unless I want to. Does that make sense? So again, you only need 1 or 2 or 3 of those things that work for you. If you like playing with words and getting a key phrase in every 5 sentences, and you like that kind of stuff, SEO might be right for you. And you want to write and create a lot of content that way. It might not. Okay, so we are through. So here's the thing. I want to circle back to what Ingrid was talking about with, this is the key to having no guilt as a coach. Because a lot of people can't afford us, can't afford you if you charge what you're worth. What do? Well, here's the model. I'm going to jump ahead here. Jump ahead to the second page. It says the website. This is all you need for a website. Be a 6-7 figure coach. It's not complicated. There are not 100 pages of content there, are there? Right? But here's one of the most important. If I get emails every day. I have autoresponders for everything. I love it. I get at least 2 or 3 emails a day from someone saying, hey, you know, I have a book about this and I need help with it to get it out there. I hit reply, signature number 7, which it's basically about a question like that. Here's the email. Take notes on this. Save you tons of time. Basically says, dear so-and-so, I'm happy to help. There are 2 ways you can get one-on-one support from me. Number 1, post a question on my blog. Here's the link. It's free, right? Option number 2, and I elaborate a little bit on the type of questions I'll answer. Option number 2, click here, check out this page about possibly signing up for an introductory coaching call with me. Here are some of the things I can help you with during that call. If you feel like that's a good idea and you're committed to getting your book out there, do that. At the end of the call, if we both think we're a good fit, then we'll explore maybe doing more together. And then underneath that, it says, and by the way, if you don't already know, I have tons of valuable free information on my website, starting with my free introductory 1-hour MP3. Click here to get it. And then I say, no matter what you decide, I'm really looking forward to learning more about you and your book. Is there one person in the universe that email won't work for? There's not. Whether it's an email or a phone call, if someone calls and leaves a voicemail with the same kind of message, I call them back. Hey, give me your email address. I've got an email that will explain exactly what your options are. Okay? So I don't have to think about on that loop anymore. You know, am I going to this meeting? Am I going to stay on this? What's the point when I meet somebody in an event? Should I show them this article? Should I get them to listen to this? Should I show them this video series? Should I try to sell them something? It's all gone. It's very simple. Your number 1 goal, get someone opting into your mailing list. How do you do that? The free MP3, by the way. That's the carrot to get them opting in. You've really got to have a good MP3, a lot of value. They see it, they'll opt in for it. Now they're on your list. What's the second step? What's next? Once someone's listened to your MP3, if you're going to help them reach their goal, what's the next move for them? Introductory call. There's nothing else. You know, even if I get a client who I know they can afford me, and they say, hey, I was referred by so-and-so, or I've spent hours on your site, and I want to sign up for coaching. I press the pause button. I say, that's awesome. Maybe we're a good fit, but you still need to go sign up for the introductory call first, so I can be sure we're a good fit. And
repeat that. It's about being a good fit, because who is giving you money is not the important part.
Right. And also, as Ingrid is much better at this than I am, you have to establish your authority as a coach. And it's not about an ego trip or wanting to control people. It sucks. The reason we're controlling as coaches is we've learned that's what people need. And people respond to that. It's like, well, 10 times out of 10, I can tell you this. Someone listens to my free MP3 on author coaching. 10 times out of 10, they're like, man, that was so awesome. I was pissed that you made me go do that before I could take the next step, but now I get it. I learned this and I see this, and I say, yeah, now if you do an intro call with me, I don't have to waste 45 minutes explaining all that stuff that's on the MP3. We can talk about you, and we can apply it. Does that make sense? So that's really, really the purpose. Okay. Here's another thing. This is so incredibly important. Again, making your client jump through hoops. Here's another part of the psychology. You know what happens every time you make somebody do something before they can get to their goal? They're more vested. They're more vested in the process. I promise you. I mean, it happens every time. And you're going to think you're going to piss people off, but they're going to thank you. Okay, I get this. I'm telling you. Not only do I make people do the MP3, so someone will email me, they're like, okay, I listened to the MP3, and I'm ready to pay. Can we get on the phone tomorrow? And have the introductory call? No, doesn't work that way. Okay, here's a link. Go sign up. What's going to happen after you sign up is you're going to get my long-ass author questionnaire. It's like 53 questions. And we've had people, and again, this is why people have to pay, because we had one client, the last question, is there anything else you'd like to share? And he's a client now, love him. He said this, he's like, man, if I knew I had to answer this many questions, I never would have signed up. He's like, but I'm okay with it now, because they're good. And then I told him next time we got on the phone, that's why you had to pay first. Because if it was a free call, you'd never have done it. And then you wouldn't have invested in your process. And you wouldn't have seen all your weaknesses and all your gaps and all the different areas that we work where we can help you grow. So remember what I said before, consistency? Guess what? The questionnaire questions, you know what they reveal? The core areas that we work in that we're strong. The same things I'm going to help you with on the introductory call, the same things I'm going to help you with during the coaching program. Does that make sense? No? Okay, so for example, I might ask you, if it's the author questionnaire, I might ask you, on a scale of 0 to 10, 10 is best, I want you to grade your current query letter. I want you to grade your current synopsis, book proposal, sample chapters, and I want you to explain why. And so now you're seeing, oh, well, gee, those must be things he can help me with. Query, book proposal, first 50 pages. Make sense? So that then when you get on the call with me, that introductory call, we can talk about all those things. And I can give you tips that are real quick, like, hey, this is weak. You grade yourself here, I grade you here. Here's why. Here's some general ways that you can make that better. And what I'll do is I'll pull a lot of things out of their questionnaire, and I'll say, hey, you should put that in your query. You should put that in your pitch letter. And they're like, well, but then it's going to be 3 pages. I'm like, yeah, well, then you got to edit it, or I can do that for you. But it's very logical flow. They're connecting the dots all the way through. The process is the same. Is that better? Okay. Now, what happens if somebody can afford your coaching services, and they're serious, and you didn't totally bumble your message on your MP3, they listen to that whole thing for an hour. You're dangling the carrot, you're demonstrating your brilliance, and then they sign up for the introductory call, and then they fill out this long questionnaire, and then they have to wait a week or two before they can get on the phone with you. It's another important thing, And again, you can do it just to make them wait, or you can do it because you're that busy. Eventually get to the point where they have to wait a few weeks because it's that busy. Again, that helps you. That's a good thing. They're having to jump through the hoops to get there with you. And by the time you're done with that introductory call, by that time, even before they get on there, they should trust you from the MP3 and the questionnaire. and this is what you'll see, people, this is the irony. You get to be the ultimate good person. Like, we beat them up with like a 53-question questionnaire. And we're like, man, they should be mad. We're making them work. But they'll say, here's what they'll say. Thank you so, last question, anything else you want to share? Thank you so much for caring enough to ask me this many questions and get to know me that well before our coaching call. The first time I saw it, I was like, really? Because I mean, half the reason I'm asking you those questions is to make it more likely you're going to sign up for coaching, but it's a win-win. It really is. And I mean, the more you get to know them, the more you can actually help them during the hour. And then guess what? The selling thing, it doesn't exist. You know, you've already coached them. They actually lose money. There's a big perceived loss. If they go, listen to the MP3, look at your site, waiting, fill out your questionnaire, do all that stuff with you on the hour, and then they don't do more with you, they're not going to let you help them apply it, that's a big perceived loss, right? What is the perceived loss when you just do a free 15-minute, 30-minute intro call with someone who hasn't had to do jack to get it?
They just go to the bathroom while they're on the
Yeah,
call.
or you get a no-show, or you get someone coming on the call being like, what is it you do again? Oh, hell no, I'm not doing that call. That's not happening. By the time you get on the phone with me, you're going to know. Oh, by the way, another question on the questionnaire. Did you listen to my free MP3 yet? If it's not, they're not getting on the phone with me till they go back and do it, right? And how do I know if they're lying? I ask them, what are the 3 most important things you got out of my MP3, right? So there's no cheating, right? Okay. All right, coaching proposal. That's the next step. You know, if you decide they're a good fit for coaching, you have to get to this place. You want to increase your conversion rate. You have to get to this place where you turn people away. And if you're new, this is going to be hard, but you have to do it because I'm telling you, like it's like, I don't know if you ever get completely cured of this, but like I have one client right now, I've got 3 weeks left with her, and I am counting the days. Okay, counting the days. She got me on a weekday, like, I don't know, I just knew I shouldn't take her on. I did anyway, and man, she's making me work for it. It's like I've never worked so hard in my life, and you know, it's not even one of the big programs. That's the irony, like Ingrid talked. Okay, you want to tell people no, just so you don't get caught in drama, but also so you can tell people with a straight face, even if it's on the phone, when you follow up or when you pitch them, you say, you know what, I think we probably would be a good fit, and here's why. Now, I lay it on thick. First thing I do on an introductory coaching call is I tell you why I believe in you, in what you're doing with your goals, and why I believe you have what it takes to succeed. And then guess what? First thing you're going to see in a proposal if I send that to you is the same thing. A lot of times we skip that. Again, we're so focused on, you know, what we're going to deliver to them that we miss, you know, I probably convert more clients because I actually see them and I say, and I know this because they tell me this when I get testimonials, well, during the first call you weren't trying to sell me too much, you really got to know me, and you told me specifically the things about my work that were good, and you told me the things that weren't. Like you made it concrete, and so I trusted you because of that, right? So make sure you get that in there. What do I want to say about proposal levels? Let me walk you quickly, like I did with the MP3, I'll walk you through the pieces of a coaching proposal, okay? I have about this much text on a page at the top, which is, Dear so-and-so, I really enjoyed my time with you during our introductory call. Here's why I believe in you and your work, and why I think you have a chance of making it. Very important, I also make sure I put something in there they suck at, or the weak link. Because guess what? If I just, as the quote goes, if I just blow smoke up your rear end, you know, you're really not going to trust me, and you shouldn't. But I'll say the nice things, but I'm also going to say, like with authors, it's often the platform. Your platform's not great, but it's good enough to give us a shot, and here are the things we can do to make that better. But I mean, yeah, if I just compliment you too much and I don't show what I can help you grow with, then, you know, why do you need to sign up with me? So there's that. Then there's in a big bold box, the goal or the outcome. This is the beginning of it. This is what yours should be. By the time we're done working together, you will have. Like, what will they have? So I give them the nuts and bolts first, and then I end with the big thing. So for them, it's like you'll have a professionally written query letter, well-targeted list of agents, and hopefully, because I can't promise, and hopefully multiple agents interested in your work and a major book deal with a book publisher, right? That's why they're there. It better be clear to me, big box up front and center. What's most important after that? Okay, now that's the goal. Here's how I'm going to help you get there. Here's my process. Part 1, we're going to do this. Part 2, we're going to do this. Part 3, we're going to do this. That's kind of different for you based on your industry and your unique skill set. After that, now, here's what you're going to get during the program. And this part, they could care less at that point, because you tell me this. If you're an aspiring author and you believe that I can really give you your best shot to get a book deal, what would you prefer? If I can get you there either way, the program that takes 24 months, a call every day for 2 hours, and tons of homework, or the program where I get you to the same place and 2 phone calls? Which one do you want? I want the 2 phone calls. I'm busy, got a life. If I trust you can get me there in 2, let's do it. Right? So this is, again, why you don't compete on time. Doesn't matter. Doesn't matter. It'd actually work against you to try to over-deliver that way. And then the last thing in there is a bunch of stuff about is the price and the rationale for the price. You have to always have a reason why you give your price. And you'll see me do that a little bit later in what we do with our offer, so I won't explain that right now. And then I also get in there, there's like a miscellaneous section after that, other important things you need to know. And this is where I hit more of your resistance, right? Which will be, you're going to be in a supportive, safe, non-judgmental environment. That's important to people. People have been burned. I will say, no busy work. I assume, like me, you're a busy professional and this, and you don't need me to try to impress you by sending you tons of stuff you don't need. I'm not going to do that. So kind of some things like that, dealing with people's resistance that way. And most important with price, I told you about the guy who said he hated the questionnaire. He was awesome. He actually explained after he started coaching, right when he was signing up, he walked us through his whole process of his heart attack when he saw the proposal and the price. It was freaking awesome, and I'm like, I'm using that. I took his story, and right after the price, I say, now, at this point, you just read the price, you might be having what one of our clients described as a mini heart attack. That's normal. And then I explain, with his permission, here's what this one client told us. He immediately said no, because of the number, right? And then he said he couldn't sleep, woke up at 3 a.m., and then he went back and he listened to our 1-hour intro call again. And then he thought of his dead uncle who left him some money, and he had this conversation with himself about whether he should invest the money in something that he doesn't have much control over, like the stock market, or in himself. And he had that conversation. His uncle would have told him to invest in himself. I'm like, man, that's gold. Pretty much took that story word for word and put it in there. And talk about, as Ingrid said, the cost of not doing it. And like what I told you during the break, somebody could figure some of this stuff out the hard way that I'm sure we're sharing with you today. You might get it all figured out. It might take you 20 years, right? And there's a lot of pain and suffering and struggle along the way, kind of thing. And so you want to talk about that, what you're helping people avoid. The book business is easy. I can say, hey, you're thinking about writing a book? Great, you better set up an introductory call with me. Well, it's too early. I haven't even started the book. I'm like, yeah, but what if you spend the next year writing the wrong book? Or writing it the wrong way? You have 3 brilliant ideas. This is the one that can sell, but you don't know it. Or as you're writing the book, you could be doing X, Y, Z to build your platform and give yourself a better chance, but you don't see that. So the things that we can lose by not doing it. Okay, let me spend 2 minutes. I'm doing 2 minutes. I only got 1 minute left. I'm doing 2 minutes. Okay, some quick thoughts on the website. Website design, you're going to hear 100 people give you different opinions on this. Okay, simplicity is best. Every web page you have should have one job and one job only. Your home page. What do you think the job is of your home page based on the model we've shared? Get people seeing that you have an MP3, seeing what they can get out of it, and entering their little name and email to get it. Because once you have the email address, now you can develop a relationship and market to people, and over time they become clients if it's right. Training guide, and you can go, if you look on this paper, it says coachingconsultingtraining.com. If you didn't take great notes today, or you want to hear some of the mistakes coaches make that Ingrid didn't have time for, go look at the training guide here. It's going to say something like become a consultant. And then underneath it is like a 10-part guide with a lot of the stuff we've shared with you today. Those 10 things, what do you think they are? It's like 10 articles. Now, I didn't tell you need to write 10 articles, so what do you think those 10 articles are?
Address pain points?
They're basically a slightly different version of the content that's on the MP3. All right? Because again, if that one message works and it's right on the MP3, just put a slightly different version of it there for people who maybe they won't get the MP3 right away, but they'll read a few articles, get hooked, and then sign up. Make sense? You want to have a blog. You don't need to have a ton of content. 3 good articles is enough. Our client, we have a client in Israel. She launched a new site. She does outsourcing coaching. She has 3 blog articles up there. She just made 17 grand. You don't need bazillion, hundreds of hours of content. The Ask Me page, this is where you offer your free coaching. People can post questions. I've had clients take 2 years to sign up with me, but they do it over time. I always ask people why they signed up with me. Okay, as much as I ask someone why they didn't. A lot of times what I get is, well, I see the thoughtful comments you leave on your blog and on the Ask Me section, and I posted a couple there, and I figure, well, gee, if you do that for me there for free, what would you do for me if I'm actually paying you? Right? So this is a big trust builder. You can think, we both grouch a little bit. Sometimes like love-hate relationship when you get comments and questions on your blog. It's like, oh, time suck. You know? But then you remind yourself, well, this is half of the reason this works. You know, okay, this is an investment of time and it's a good thing, right? You can look at the coaching pages. I'll leave you to that. You can look at how we have that structured on our site. And take a break. And when we come back for the third session, we'll start out with a few minutes of Q&A. One quick thing as you guys are getting settled, I know someone's going to attack me in the parking lot if I don't answer this question that we promised in the promo, which is the difference between coaching and consulting. So, in a nutshell, there's not a whole lot of difference, and you know, we have a page on our website that kind of goes into it, but there's really no black and white here. There's kind of some general guidelines. Usually what I'll do is whenever I'm out, I'll say I'm an author, coach, and consultant, and that way whatever preconceived notion you have in your head about what one or two of those things mean, you trust that I can help you and give you what you need. So I recommend saying you're both because you know, there are 1,000 different definitions in people's minds, but in general, here's how you can look at it. Let's see. Oh, this doesn't, I don't have the check mark showing up. I'll have to do this from memory. Okay, deep analysis. So there are about 12 different things you can offer somebody as a coach or consultant. As a coach, you're generally not doing a ton of deep analysis about where somebody's at in their situation. As a consultant, you're probably doing more of that. Does that make sense? In the same way that a consultant is typically getting to know the person more and their situation, and as a coach, you typically more have your own kind of system process thing that you kind of push people through. Now, there are exceptions to both of those, right? But in general, that's kind of a good way to look at it. Let's see. Motivation, inspiration, consultants don't do that, coaches do. Who leads? This is critical, okay? No matter how you come out on this, you want to be the one leading the coaching. Because again, what's your ultimate responsibility, as Ingrid stressed? Getting the person to reach their goal. It's not making the client feel good. Some clients, you have to train them on how to be coached. They might not know how. They'll show up for sessions saying, okay, today I want to talk about this and I want to do this. And it's like, you know, our clients never do that because we train them before the first session. This is how it works. And, you know, we might interrupt you from time to time. Don't be offended. Here's why we do that, to make sure we finish and get to the goal. We're going to lead. We'll have an agenda. You know, we'll ask you what you're celebrating and what you're struggling with at the beginning. If you want to talk about how you're feeling, we'll do that, but you're not getting more than 2 minutes on that because we got a lot to do, right? So you're leading. You have that structure. And that's good enough, like breakdown. There's a little more on our website about that. Do you guys have any questions left over from the last session?
person who got stuck by the price point, slept on it and so on, then he got up in the middle of the night and listened to the coaching session. How does that work? Because you've obviously captured it in an MP3.
Yes, great little secret I just rushed right over. We recommend you use a company called Ring Central. When you're starting out and it's small, and you're small, you don't have a big, I pay $600 a year for unlimited incoming recording of calls on an 800 number through Ring Central. You probably don't want to do that right away. Just sign up with the baby plan. But what's beautiful about Ring Central is you call me for a session, all I have to do is hit *9, it records. When I'm done, one click, it downloads as an MP3, and guess what? An hour-long session, it's about 14 megabytes, I can email that to you in a half second. And half the reason I record those calls, now, you as a client or prospect, you're like, oh, goody, I'm getting a recording, I don't have to take tons of notes, if I miss anything, I have it. Why do you think I'm recording it? What's my motivation? I think about that guy who might go listen to it again and get anchored and feel safe enough to kind of follow up with the coaching. So there are always two reasons.
So you need to repeat the question for the video next time.
Okay. All right. Next question.
What's reasonable to expect conversion rate between introductory call and then signing up for your taking proposal?
What's the conversion rate for introductory calls to coaching? I love this question because here, this is the magic. What I didn't spell out is that this system, this formula, it's a numbers game. Like I told you right now, you pick how much you want to make a month. And so if it's $8,300 a month to get to 6 figures, then you break that down. You say, how many of my programs do I need to sell a month to do that? And you figure that out. 3K program, I need 3 clients a month. So the next question is, how many introductory calls do I need to have to get those 3 clients? And if you know, well, I'm getting started, I'm not that confident, my conversion rate's only 25%, let's say 1 in 4 people sign up, then how many intro calls do you need to have in a month to get to 6 figures? How many is that? 12.
And truthfully, the more you learn your process and understand what you do and getting better at everything we're talking about, your conversion rate just keeps going up. So truthfully, some people can have extreme high conversion rates, and that should be the goal. But don't beat yourself up if you're not good at it yet. It's just, like Mark says, just a numbers game then, and you'll keep on improving. So that's the most powerful part. Go ahead.
I know most of your business is, you do everything, face-to-face meetings, et cetera. What percentage do you think is good for remote telephone like you maybe?
We do very little on one-on-one.
Most of our conversion rate is phone or Skype. And so to give you a sense, I can only base it on what we've done, but when you're speaking, we've closed as much, Ingrid has, I can't say we haven't hit this yet. She closed 50% of a room once for signing up for an introductory call, which I thought was fantastic. On an intro call with somebody to get them into coaching, I've had months where I'm at a 75% or 90% conversion rate. But again, it also is colored by, I don't offer everybody. And the irony there.
That's important. What he has said is that you're not going to want to offer every person. So then then you have to maybe up your numbers too, where it's more the quality versus the quantity as well, who you're going to actually offer. And those are the ones you have to see what your conversion rate is there.
But the simple math, so now we're at the point where we know, okay, you need 12 people a month signing up for an introductory call to meet your financial goal. So then what do you think is the next question? How do you get those? How do you get those 12 people? You need a certain amount of people to go listen to your MP3, right? And then it gets individual on how you want to do that. Are you doing SEO? Are you going out doing a lot of speaking like this? What are you doing to drive the numbers? But soon you'll figure out, well, I need 50 people to listen to my MP3 to get 10 people signing up for an intro call. But here's the thing, with this formula, it becomes all math. And like I showed you last month, this is how you grow. I realized, okay, I'm getting 30 people a month signing up for an intro call. I can't handle that. Don't want to. Now I raise the price, right? Or change something. So there's no more mystery anymore in your finance.
And numbers games are easier to deal with than I don't know what to do. That makes sense? The numbers, I find that so real. That's why I like measuring money in your business, because it doesn't lie. And you just have to figure out how. That's easier sometimes than not knowing at all what to do. So, any other questions? Go ahead.
I had an instinctive reaction to the 1 hour time length of the MP3. Can you explain my resistance to that and why the 1 hour is the magic number, or is it a magic number?
So the question is, why does an MP3 have to be 60 minutes? To be truthful, the answer is that the more time you have, the more likely you are to convert a person. If you understand how to deliver good content, because the longer the time is, the more you get to demonstrate your value, reveal their weak points, give examples of how you can help with them, share case studies, share your passion, share your credibility, spell it all out, and at the same time actually deliver a good 30 minutes of solid content so they don't feel like it's a sales pitch.
And actually 75 minutes is a sweet spot.
Even better.
Yeah. So, no, because that trust, when we listen to, if you think about it, the more you listen to somebody, the more you get to know them. And that's kind of why this works. And that's why audio works so well.
Ooh, let me add one thing to that. The reason MP3 is great, not everybody's great at video. And I mean, video, you're juggling way too many things to be good. What we do with our MP3 scripts is we suggest people actually write them out word for word. It'll be about 22 pages by the time you're done. It's exhausting, but it's all the copy you'll ever need for your business. It's your bio, it's your story, it's handling resistance, it's that multi-part article series, it's all there. And then you can practice that and you get good at reading something and making it sound like you're not. If you go download my author MP3, I read that whole thing for word, and I promise you would never think it, because I practiced in the voice inflection and all that. But the audio gives you that extra layer of warmth and feeling that you don't get from reading. The same way that video is even better because you have the visual, but that's asking a lot of somebody who's just getting started and trying to get the content good.
Those 150 areas that lend themselves to coaching and consulting, is that on your website? Mm-hmm.
Yeah, the coaching, training. Oh, I'm sorry, you're asking about the 150 different professions as a coach. It's on coachingconsultingtraining.com. And it's powerful to see because it really opens your mind to that there's no limit to what you can do if you have knowledge. Any other question? And then we need to get to content. Yeah.
You mentioned Skype. When do you use Skype?
I don't use it. He uses it. So.
I only use Skype if I have someone who's international and it's going to be like a big deal. I don't necessarily do video. But it's like just as an alternative for long distance, like if they can't call my 800 number or whatever, I mean.
And then they don't get a transcript, they just get their...
I usually just call people because I have a different plan. And again, what's so powerful about us is we do it differently. And we're quite honest why we do things differently. Because truthfully, it's personality. Some people love Skype. I hate Skype because it will get stuck sometimes. If you're on video, I have to sit there and stare at somebody a whole hour or 30 minutes, whatever it is. When I coach and consult, I actually tend to look outside outside my office
in your head.
Because I like to pay attention to the things they say. And if I have to look at that person, I actually lose my concentration. And this is a style again, right?
Skype doesn't get you don't capture the content.
You can. There are
You can record.
tools for
You
that.
can record. Yep. It's $10 a month.
Okay.
Yep.
For what company?
Skype.
Premium.
Oh, Skype. Oh, actually record
Yeah.
that.
Yeah.
Where is your MP3? What website?
Which one?
Oh, the author site, if you want to get that MP3, it's literaryagents.com, but there's a dash in between literary and agents. If that's too complicated, go to literaryagentundercover.com and it will forward you. So, next question.
Okay. Let's get into content.
All right, so we're going to blast through some. Yeah, let's go through each one and just try to really give like the short bio and just a lesson that somebody can learn from it. What we're trying to do here is two things, again, full transparency, or at least 90%. We're sharing case studies with, well, you can't reveal all your secrets too soon. Too soon. You scare people away. Like if you tell someone about your 10 kids and 5 marriages on the first date, that's not smart, you know. Wait till the third, you know. All right. Okay, so basically what we're going to try to do is apply some of the things that really Ingrid talked about in the first hour to real life people so you can more connect the dots for you, where maybe you heard the abstract thing and you're like, that's cool, I feel like I should do that, but how do I do that? And maybe if we show you an example or two, it clicks. Does that make sense? And then at the same time, we're doing that so you can kind of see what we might be able to do for you if you decide to do more with us. Make sense? Okay, so why don't you start with Deborah?
So I had she was a hypnotherapist when she came to me, and she just moved from Colorado to New York. She was making $500 a month, if that. And she's desperate, and so she started coaching with me. And she was a hypnotherapist, and she had literally 100 different type of categories what she helped, and she charged by the hour. I think she charged $150, and that was like the high end of a hypnotherapist. And she was on the news here in Colorado and really known, but her whole business just crumbled.
And this is all about her niche. So she was like, hypnotherapy, right? Quit smoking, dating, weight loss. Like pick your poison out of 1,000 things. She did that. So what was she missing? One tight focus.
So the focus that we came up with is that her big gift and her passion is helping women over 40 find true love. And so she became a love coach. Now, you might say, well, how can a love coach make that much money? Well, she started with the $500 a month, and then I think it was within 4 months, she was making $7,000 to $8,000. Then after that, just escalating, and right now she is making $500,000 a year.
How many years ago was that? She was at 500?
3 years. So that's what we done, right? So whatever industry you're in, you can make amazing money. You just have to figure it out. But maybe the hard part that she had at first was attracting those high-end clients. So we changed her coaching programs. We made really high-end coaching programs. So we started with 6 months, $10K, right? And at first she had a really hard time, but you know what? It wasn't because of her clients. It was her own self-worth. She couldn't wrap her head around that a love coach would charge that much money. And I said, well, you know what? If you can find that one woman, her true love, wouldn't that be worth the money, right?
So some of us pay 20 grand, 40 grand, 60 grand, maybe more for a car that lasts how many years, right? You think it's worth it to pay 10K to have a love of your life that lasts for the next 50, right? It's all how you think about it and how you talk about it.
So the biggest lesson, and I mean, we've done so many other things with her, and it's really amazing, but it's often easier to make more money just niching than it is to be all over the place. So she took down a lot of her hypnotherapist stuff because it was confusing her true client, and it's really powerful.
And one other thing along those lines, when you're trying to be a generalist like she was, there are 1,000 hypnotherapists out there that'll, you know, there's books on how to quit smoking, DVDs, but the second she becomes a unique, it wasn't just that she became a love coach, but a love coach with a specific market, like 40 and over or whatever it was. Now all of a sudden, how much direct competition do you think she has? Not a lot. Right. And that's the beginning of, you know, getting there. Right, exactly.
So we're skipping one because he's not a coach.
Let's see.
So who should we, Robin? Or?
Yes, no?
Yeah, I can talk about that. I can talk about going right.
Going what?
Okay. Sure. So another coach, he came in as more a mindset, feeling good kind of coach. And
Breakthrough coach. Kira, any
right.
problem you have in one session? Do you see a problem with that business model?
all these things. He sounded like Tony Robbins. And I said,
Seriously.
you need to be, uniquely you. And it's really powerful because he was making he was doing pretty good, like $3,000 to $3,500 a month. And within the month he was making $12,000. And that's because we focused, we had him restructure all his coaching programs because what he kept doing was just selling by the hour. He never had the guts to actually get people in there. And he said, well, I'm the breakthrough coach. I can change their life in 2 hours and we're done. And I'm like, oh, great, you're not a coach then. And he's like, what do you mean? And I said, well, what you do then is miracles because none of us do miracles. I mean, I have thought the same thing when I started my work. I thought 1 hour, 2 hours, I'll change their life forever. But the truth is, in coaching and consulting, it's more about the client actually start changing, and that might take them longer than it takes you, right? So we restructured everything in his coaching, and it just built a real business for him. So now he has all these different level of coaching programs. The hardest part with him was he's really gorgeous, but he started thinking that he knew it all. And he started feeling like he didn't need all these different things. You know what happened? A, I dropped him, by the way, because I had to. B, his income dropped below $3,000 a month because it's a form of self-sabotage. And that's when I said this thing about none of us know better and we gotta kind of bust ourselves. It's really important to stay in your power and be okay with financial freedom and doing good. And I think sometimes we're not okay with it. So then we self-sabotage. But he's an amazing, the before and after is, you have to put all of yourself in a brand and you have to really have good coaching programs. So.
And one thing I just wanted to add on that, this is something we need to redo these interviews. We have some old interviews where we talked some of our personal breakthroughs and becoming successful as entrepreneurs. Two big conflicts. One of them was something that this client struggled with was creativity, is that, if you think of yourself as a creative first, you're going to fail. If you think of yourself as a spiritual person first, in your business, I'm talking about here, you're going to fail. So it's like, if you want a successful business, you can be creative and CEO, but you got to be 51% CEO, 49% creative. And you got to understand that you don't lose integrity or value by modeling systems and things that work, like those things. Some of us, we have blocks about that. We feel we're cheating or we're not special if we do that, and it's, we used to struggle with that. Yeah, I mean, you could do everything the hard way, recreate everything from scratch, it's like, yeah, but, why? What your expertise is what's unique. Your story is unique. Your process is unique. But you don't need to go try to spend the next 10 years to reinvent a different funnel that works better than the one we're sharing or things like that. You're just going to hurt yourself.
So here's somebody who came to me, two kids. She was also making like maybe $300 to $500 a month, which is not very much if you're a single mom with two kids. And she was at the time a book editor. And what was really powerful about her was that I started looking at what she was really doing, and I said, you're not a book editor. You're actually a book coach. You help people write, and you help people figure their book out and who they are. And she's really good at that. And I said, you need to quit editing, because editing, truthfully, it takes so much time, and it's like she wasn't using her greatest gift. So once we did that, then she was another one, like 4 or 5 months, she was up to 7,000. I don't know where she's at today. She's probably making $300,000 a year right now or more. And it's, again, just because she niched more and really figured out who she is.
Well, the lesson in that is, let me ask you this. Whether you've ever worked with a book editor, how do you imagine someone who helps you edit your book, how do you imagine they get paid? Hourly, right? And there's a cap on how much a book editor is going to get paid by the hour. How much do you think somebody who helps you figure out what your book should be and find your voice and organize your book and get the thing written, how do you think that person gets paid? Program. That ain't an hourly anything, and what can they charge? They can charge a lot because it's a really high level. Not everybody can do that.
So we created a really high-end coaching program for her clients, 10,000, 25,000, on and on. And she sells that like crazy. So it really is about figuring yourself out. Should we do Susan or?
Skip.
Yeah. Skip. Do you want her or?
Up to you.
Sorry, we have so many. I like Bridget.
Yeah, no, it's good.
Okay, so one of my German clients, I have clients all over the world. That's part of what's so fun being a coaching consultant is you get to really get to know people all over the world. And maybe that's my favorite part because I'm from Sweden. So I feel like I get to use all of my other knowledge as well. But my client, she came to me, she was a quilter. A quilter,
Makes
right?
quilts.
Makes quilts. And she was not making much money a month and was really struggling with why she was different from every other quilter, because there's a lot of quilters out there, I found out, by the way, after doing the research. And you know, the biggest part about her quilts, when I asked her to send me pictures, I wanted to see everything she does. Her quilts are probably the most beautiful things I've ever seen because they're more Zen quilts. They're not so busy where some quilts are like that. So I said, you know, I can't remember what we called her. No, that's not it. It's Zen Couture or Zen Couture. I'm trying to remember, this is a bit ago. But what was powerful is we planned out all the things she should do. So she went to a convention in the United States, had a booth, and we set up all these different things. So we'd set up that I wanted her to start writing articles. I wanted to get book published on her quilts. I wanted her to be on TV, do lots of interviews, to sell all her quilts. And then she also wanted to be a designer for patterns of fabric. So there were a lot of things. So we had succeeded in a lot of that. She goes to this convention. Everything happens because we'd set it all up. So we planned her booth, how it should look like. We planned everything she should be saying and talking about. And it's really miraculous how when you really set it up correctly and you have you think much bigger, it can really happen overnight because that's what it did for her. She got her book deal. She got interviewed on TV. She got lots of quilting magazines publishing her articles. And she sold out all her stuff. And that's pretty miraculous. So this is not a coach, but you understand the thing about who you can become versus who you think you are. She just thought she was a little quilter in Germany, you know.
And one other thing, she won the award for Best New Exhibitor at this huge expo. But to tie it into you even more is this was simply, if you want to put one lesson on this, one exposure strategy. You know, and I would have never thought of that, but Ingrid's like, yeah, you're in Germany, you're going to come do this one expo here in the US. I mean, how scary is that for this woman over in Germany? But that one exposure strategy was right for her, changed everything. So what is it for you, you know, one exposure strategy?
So let's do some of these.
Okay, good.
How much time? Okay.
We're doing good. Let's do Bryce. We have a client in Australia. Now, he a lot of times because of our two businesses, like I'll have someone sign up for an introductory call with me about books, and then I say, that's not really what you need. Like you need that, but you know, books are kind of iffy, whether you're going to make money or not with it and when, right? It's more of a gamble. Coaching, 100%. If you have the expertise, you create the structure, you will make money, right? Whatever you invest in coaching, you'll get it back if you just do it. So we actually got him into a bigger program with us where he's doing book and his coaching business. But anyway, the name of his book is 5 a.m. Wake Up Call. Now, here's a lesson. What would you think that book might be about? It's not a novel. How-to book. 5 a.m. Wake Up Call. It's funny how we project everything, isn't it? No, it kind of is. It kind of is.
I download it at 5 a.m. and I get up and start writing.
Right? Anyone else? Oh, no one's going to answer now because I did what I did.
911.
Okay. It's basically about getting an extra edge in life by getting up at 5 a.m. and all of a sudden you have more passion and live all your dreams. Now, I see some of the faces, right? It's the initial reaction, like the 5 a.m. hook is the best and worst part of that brand and the book, okay?
And that's what we realized during VIP Day was that so many people don't want to wake up at 5, right? So we have that resistance in the market. And so the book, we had to come up with a different type of hook that would make people want to wake up at 5. And
well, it's dealing with the resistance. So here's the good and the bad. The great thing about the 5 a.m. wake up call hook is that he'll be on every morning show in the country. Radio, TV, perfectly natural. It's about getting up early, perfect time to talk about it. He'll get booked, no brainer, right? And also, we know already, it's hardwired into our consciousness. We know that the most successful people, they're not sleeping in, they're getting up early, okay? That's the good stuff. The bad stuff is nobody wants to do it, okay? So the most valuable thing we contributed to his brand was the subtitle, that the tagline that comes after the 5 a.m. wake-up call, title of the book, and on the website. So here it is, the first part of it. It's 5 a.m. wake-up call, get more sleep. Because if you actually hear him out for 2 seconds, you'll discover 5 a.m. life is not about getting less sleep. It's not about hating your life. It's actually simply going to bed a little earlier, getting up a little earlier, and all the science behind what that does for you to help you get ahead. But without that, right up front, center, get more sleep, unleash your passion, I don't remember the last part, it wouldn't happen. It really wouldn't happen. It's live your adventure. It's a really hard sell. You know, so again, little things like that, one of the most overlooked things by coaches and all entrepreneurs is, again, put yourself in the person's shoes, make a long list of every kind of resistance you can imagine someone might have to you personally or to what you do. You know, there's a reason earlier today I said you don't have to be an extrovert to be a successful coach, right? Because you might perceive me as being an extrovert. So I share, no, I'm not. You don't have to do that. And I know a lot of people worry about that. You know, so making that list for yourself. Who do you want to do next?
I like Nadine.
Go for it.
All right, so Nadine is a hardcore corporate who's worked in the mail industry, like cars and aviation,
engineering for car racing,
like hardcore mail industry, and she has succeeded in becoming really, really successful. So she came to us wanting to transition from the corporate into her own business and coaching business. So when we were looking at her, she had some idea about herself. She was talking about speed women or what was
she had a great hook to make it as a big time like motivational speaker, but there wasn't depth. But it was this idea of kind of fueling passion, driving success, and taking her experience as an engineer in the race car industry to talk about how to get ahead, like life is a race, and all the clever development of the metaphor, which would have been good, but it wasn't great. And then, you know, tell them what we did.
Well, with Nadine, she's a very strong woman, and she actually is such a negotiator. So now I'm going to shock you even more. So my questionnaire on Born Celebrity for being in part of our coaching program, once you sign up, that questionnaire is 150 plus questions.
That's once you're in the big program.
Right. And why we do that is because there's so much in-depth I need to know about you. You know, I need to know who you are, your life story, and I don't want to spend all that time on the phone about that because that would take forever. And there might be things in there that you wouldn't even think of sharing, so I have to ask all those questions. But in this questionnaire, she was sharing that, oh yeah, I kept getting promoted and my salary doubled every year. And I'm like, that's not very common, you know, right? That's not that easy in the corporate to double as a woman, to keep doubling your salary. And so when we're on that call, Mark and I was on this call together, I'm like, how do you do that stuff? She's like, well, I keep having goals that's getting promoted, and I keep thriving. And I'm like, but how do you know how to do that in a man's world? Because that is really a man's world. She said, well, I really know how to network and how to really get together with, what's it called? It's the guy club. Yeah, the good boy. She figured out the code, how to do that. So the deeper we went, I realized that, yeah, the niche or the X factor thing or the grabby differentiation might be that she is a woman that's a speed woman, or
Yeah.
do you want to, no, I'm just looking at you. I'm trying to remember her name. So we came up with that, but the biggest part that she does is help women really get ahead in a man's world, right? So that was her coaching. And so then we come up with her brand, which was?
Fast Women in Business. Fast Women in Business. So
And the tagline?
there's your, I don't remember, but I had a couple thoughts before they run away. Hold on. The lesson here, I mean, well, there's a lot to be said about $1 million name. And Fast Women in Business, I promise you, if she's sending out press releases to the media or talking about that in an interview, she has your attention. And we even play on it, right? And she's not like a smutty lady. She's a very classy lady. But you go to her website, one of the first images, well, it's not done yet, don't go there. Now everyone's going to Google it. But anyway, one of the first images you'll see, like it's a beautiful woman with a like motorcycle helmet on looking, and she's naked, but you just see her like here up. So we're playing on, you know, the initial thought that like your mind goes, fast women in business, what? But you immediately see it's not that, but it gets attention. But the most important lesson here is target market. We didn't talk about this today, but what we did for her and so many of our coaching clients, like she could have done this talk about fueling passion, driving success, great, go out and talk, but she's not going to make money, you know, because it's just a metaphor. So we looked within the range of all the different things she could do, and, you know, women in business, entrepreneurs, corporate women, if she can help them get ahead and be more fulfilled, that's worth a lot of money in the corporate world. If it's just a feel-good talk, good luck making money, right?
The most important part that I think we forgot to say is that her first job was working for the NASCAR as a mechanic. So that was where the fast cars came, or speedy women, I keep saying the wrong.
Yep.
Fast women. So there's this thing about really having an authentic brand and pulling all of you into a brand, right? So when you talk about what you do, you can share all of it. You don't have to have secrets. And she, you know, it kind of ends up being, it's probably the most beautiful part about you is if we can find all of those things about yourself. Who else?
We'll talk about another one. We just started working with this guy. He's a leadership expert, and it's all about, you know, started out as, you know, being authentic, leading from within, being a better leader kind of thing. We're like looking for the math, looking for the money, right? And it was like more the fluffy stuff of like authenticity and all good things, but we were seeing why he was struggling, because it's like, well, where's the money? Why is someone going to go to that retreat? So we beat him up a little bit and helped him see that he's better than he thinks at some of the hard skills of like actual external stuff. Like, what do you do, you know, when you're a good leader, good person on the inside, how does that manifest itself on the outside if you're in business? Well, you have a more effective company. You have a team that gets along better. You have less drama if you're a team leader or manager or boss, right? Your financials for your company are going to do better. So now we kind of forced him to see himself where he offers two things equally. One is the internal stuff of leadership, and one is the external stuff. And basically his approach is he wants to appeal to people who are more spiritual or high-minded, who want total mastery of something. Well, total mastery is the internal, but the results on the outside too. Do you have anything you want to add to?
No, I mean, learning, and I don't care if you're a guy or a woman, learning how to really anchor your language into, where it's more real and outcome-based and result-based is so important. And one of my favorite words that, when we're talking about this thing about words, I used to have a company that used to be called Simply Authentic. So I'm so guilty of this. The word authentic, for example, is such an obscure word because it means so differently to people, and it's overused, right? So somebody would come and tell me, well, I feel authentic if I don't say anything, right? Another person—
hold your tongue, you mean?
Right, they're silent and just look into people's eyes and listen. That's authentic to them. Another person's authenticity is they have to speak the whole truth and nothing but the truth, and they have to tell everything to everybody, right? That's somebody's authenticity. The third one might run around naked everywhere. That's authentic to them, not my perspective, right? So especially as coaches, you gotta really be good at your language and be extremely specific with soft and hard skills, continuously going back and forth, so it's non-fluffy. And I don't care who you are, this is what most of us struggle with because we're never done that. We don't do both, we just do one part, right? And some people are just good at the hard skills, but you have to have the soft skills too, because our brain, and especially our prospects, think differently constantly, so that you need to have both. So let's do this.
Let's do 3 minutes of questions, and then we'll show you how to make a good offer.
Is that fair?
Question?
When you said that you turned down clients, how do you do that, and where in the process is that when you happen?
One of the best I'm so glad you asked that question, and you caught me. Yep, I was gonna repeat it. How do you figure out which clients to say no to and when? Well, this is the magic. The questionnaire is designed to figure out who you want and don't want. It's designed to figure out who can afford you or not, and which level program. How do you get that information out of people? And again, this isn't about trying to get the most money out of people. It's trying to figure out which program do I offer them, right? So for my book coaching, here's how I do it. I'm very slick about it. I'm not ashamed of this. I think it's clever. Do your own variation of this. One of the questions of my questionnaire is, how important, on a scale of 10, how important would a significant book advance be? Like the publisher pays you an upfront advance. How big of a difference would that make in your life? Well, guess what? People just spill their guts. They're like, well, it'd make all the difference in the world. I'm on Social Security and this and 3 kids and no money that would change my life. And then someone else says, oh, I've got savings or I've got this, so I don't need that, but it'd be nice. And so all of a sudden, I kind of have a sense of what I'm working with. But the same thing with personality and work ethic. The people who give me 2-word answers to all my questions, I probably don't want them, right? The people who really give me a lot and they're workers and they're kind, like that's half the beauty of the questionnaire. Like it's a lot of it's revealed.
Yeah, so the questionnaire and the calls. When you're on the call with the person, you'll feel if you have affinity for each other, genuinely, can I really help this person? And
trust.
And trust. And I think as a coach consultant, and this is where, you got to bust yourself, selling is not the goal. Getting the client is not the goal. The goal is, can you truly help that client achieve the results that they desire?
And do you want to?
And do you want to? And I think that's such an important part for you to constantly have in mind, because then, like Mark said, you will never be hard selling. You'll be genuinely feeling, are you for me? Is this a good fit? Am I really connecting with this person? Is this person going to do the work the right way? Because a lot of the answers they gave on the questionnaire and during that call will be revealing. And then you have to ask yourself, is this the right fit for me? Or is this a fit for somebody else? And it's about being genuine again. This is not about landing the sale. It's different.
And one more note on this. Depending on the type of outcome that you're working toward, there are some situations like where talent comes into play. So for me with authors, I will genuinely, if I know, and I know, it's my job to know, if I know someone doesn't have a prayer of getting a publisher, like their just writing is so bad that, or their platform is non-existent in a category that they're going to need a platform, I still might work with this person, but I will tell them, I'll say, listen, I'm going to be, part of me wants to just say no to you right now, not tell you about my programs, but here's the deal. If you have money to burn, and this isn't just about you making money, like you want to do this, it's important to your ego or your fulfillment, and even if it's a long shot, you still want to do it, I'll talk to you about it, and I'll consider it. But I don't want to pretend that they're likely to succeed when they have no money, and I know, and then we're just going to have that painful conversation later where they're pissed at me and feel betrayed or disappointed when I should have anticipated that if talent comes into play. But other situations, talent's not a factor. I mean, if you're a fitness coach and someone's got the money, it's just about, hey, do you think they're going to be fun to work with? You know?
You had one more question, right?
Yeah, I saw two levels of, let's see if I got it straight, two levels of qualifying. One of them is they go to the MP3, or they go to the website and they call you. Maybe they haven't looked at it. So you're going to promote the introductory call. Now, if you sign them up for the introductory call, they pay the $300. But you said that you get 50 calls, you don't even want to work with a bunch of them. So isn't that the first level before the 300? You don't even want to go for the $300.
We refund people sometimes.
Every once in a while, you give yourself, and this is the fine line, right? You want the longest questionnaire possible so that the people you really want are vested, but that's a two-edged sword because every once in a while, you're going to get someone filling that thing out and you just right away, I've had a couple of these, and some I just kick to the curb, and some I have a little come to Jesus talk, as they say, and they straighten up and I take them on. But I've had a few, it's usually the trust thing. They'll say in the questionnaire, well, I've been burned. Like one of the questions is, how interested would you be at the end of our call hearing more about my programs? Well, you know, I don't like this, and you know, I don't like being sold to, and I don't know, they can just say a lot of nasty stuff and bring a lot of baggage and they reveal it in their questionnaire about, I've worked with 5 coaches before on my book, every one of them let me down, you know, this kind of stuff. They spew it, and you can just see they're depressed, they're constantly disappointed in people, and it's just like,
to commit suicide in the questionnaire, that kind of is a sign that you maybe want to be careful.
I talked to one a week ago, I did the call anyway, she has 467 personalities. Multiple personality disorder.
But you told her no.
She was on the call with her parents. She's 57. Okay? Now, I didn't have the heart to say no to her because she was nice. Okay? But, you know, those warning things, I have no problem saying, you know, I hope you found the questionnaire valuable. If you do this, you can use these things to help you succeed. However, I just don't think we're the best fit to do the intro call. I've already refunded your money. Done. You know? Yeah.
No, but he did the introductory call because that was really right, but for him to invite her into something bigger, that wasn't right. That makes sense? So you just have to figure out, but again, this comes from instinct, you really trusting yourself, you not being desperate about money, but more about what you really can do for someone, you know? So.
By the way, 467 personalities, I didn't reject her because of that. I told her her writing wasn't good enough. And I said, but you know, if you're farther along with your writing, I might have taken you on. And then I joked, I said, but I might have to charge you a lot more because I'm dealing with a lot more people. And that's when her mom came on the line for the first time. She's like, watch it. She's like, you're really funny, but you're going to kind of send her over the edge if you keep that up. I was like,
come out.
Okay. All right. So
I'm going to hand this out.
You don't need to.
No?
I already did. All right.
You did.
So here's the 6-minute pitch. So again, remember, multitask. You know, I have no problem. Some people like, you know, I don't have a problem with selling, right? So let's talk about this as I make the pitch. I don't have any trips about that because again, if it's not right for you, it's not right. I don't know that I want you anyway, but I might. Okay, so I'm not overly attached. Our business is doing good. These are some of the things you might want to communicate, by the way, in a group or on the phone. So it's really not a hard sell, but multitask here, kind of look at what we do and what we don't do and how we do it as we go through this. But basically, think back, if you remember, this is the part now where at the beginning of the day, we said we would tell you how you could work more with us if you want to one-on-one, right? Do you remember that? Couple times. The reason it's very important you do that, you need kind of permission to do that. If you don't do that early on and kind of seed that, then people feel sold to. No one wants to feel sold to, right? Number one. So what else to qualify anything for you guys to learn? It's hard to do this multitasking. I don't know. I've taught it and done it at the same time, but
Why don't you just do the pitch?
why don't I just do the pitch and add a little bit? Okay. All right. Pressure. All right. It's not really pitch. It's basically if you want one-on-one help, actually two-on-one help, because this is what we're doing today, is for our intro call that we're offering to you guys, you have an order form in there somewhere. Basically, you get the two of us on the phone, but it's a bunch of different steps, so here's what you get. The first thing you're going to get from us is our detailed questionnaire.
This one, the order form?
Yep. First thing you're going to get is the detailed questionnaire. That on its own, we've had people tell us that just doing that is worth the price of doing the introductory session, because you don't know what you don't know sometimes. And just the questions kind of reveal where it's like, oh, that's what I'm not thinking about, or that's what I'm not doing well. And also it helps you see the things that you are doing well, that maybe you're not communicating your value fully, or maybe it just exposes you're doing this, but you're not that passionate about it. You're really more passionate about this, or things about your target market, or take your pick of all the things we talked about today. There are at least a few revelations you'll have just seeing the questionnaire, even more filling it out, so there's a value in that. We're both going to read the questionnaire, then we're going to have a meeting and talk about you. We're both going to take a bunch of notes. If you have an existing business, if you have a website, if you have a social media presence, we're going to take time and we're going to go look at all that stuff before we meet and talk, right? If you have a book, if you have some of those things, you can send us within reason. And we'll review all of that, because again, this isn't about just get you on the phone and crank you out with 10 steps. It's about really getting to know you, and whatever we do during the time, it's right, okay? Then we do the hour together. We record the call if you want that. And what we're going to do during the hour, because now you guys are all educated because you got through today, we don't need to explain all this stuff to you during our time together. It's going to be all about giving you as many concrete strategies as we can so you can apply this stuff for you. And that, everybody's different. So depending on who you are and where you're at, you might want to do something different. For somebody, maybe you're in corporate and you want to transition and start a coaching business. Where do you start? What do you need to think about? Do first 1, 2, 3. Create a plan for the next 6 months. We will do that. If you're a coach, maybe you're making $30,000 a year and you want to go to 6 figures in the next 6 months. We'll focus on that. Create a detailed action plan of what you need to do with that. That make sense? So there is some formula to it as far as the range of things we talk about, but as far as what we actually do during the call of point A to point B, that depends on you.
And if you're more successful, we have plans for that too. So.
Right. Okay, so the total value for all of those things I just listed. Well, what's the phrase on the infomercials? But wait, there's more. Oh, that's coming. Don't let me forget that. It's if you were to add up just the time of us doing the session, we could say, and even this is being cheap, I could say $500 for the hour on the phone for Ingrid, $500 for me, $1,000, and then the questionnaire, the recording, all the other stuff. So we'll call that a $1,200 value, but we do it for $297. So sidebar, whatever you're doing with your pitch, you always want to break down all the little pieces of what you're doing, show the full value of it, and then all the way at the end, you give the price of what it is, okay? Now here's this, obviously I'm in the teaching mode again, right? Once you do the price, you have to justify the price. There has to be a reason for the price, especially if it's a $1,200 value, why are you giving it to us for $297, right? Isn't that a question in some of your minds, right? Okay, no? Hey, I'm being transparent. You can give me a nod, right? Okay. So here's the deal, and you have to give people a rationale for that. So here's our list, and if you go look at our intro call pages on our websites, you'll see these things nailed. I won't remember them all here, but one of them is we know what it's like. Okay? I shared that during the day today. I know what it's like to go 10 years frustrated and pissed at the world because you have an expertise, but you just don't have the trick figured out how to make it work. Okay? And we know not everybody can afford to do the bigger long-term coaching programs with us, but anyone, if you're serious about being a coach or consultant, you can afford the $297, right? And you'll get enough out of that hour that's worth, pays for itself 10 times, right? Another reason maybe obvious, maybe not, that we do the 297 intro call is that obviously some of the people who do those intro calls go into bigger programs, right? So we can afford to do lower price intro calls because we know how to convert a significant percentage of those people into a bigger program. So the intro call for you guys too, when you do this, it's not a moneymaker in and of itself. You know what your intro call money is? If you're getting, you know, let's say 15 $97 calls a month or $300 calls a month, that's like nice dinner money. That's what that is. You know, that's little icing on the cake money. Don't ever think that's your main focus. The big programs and the core coaching, that's your main focus of making money.
So this offer is only good for today.
Do that too when you're out speaking.
Because you have to do takeaway. Yep. The other thing is, you'll only, signing up today will only get both of us, otherwise you'll only get one of us. And again, we're doing that because you got to create that value, right? And having both of us on that call helping you is really powerful. That's partly why I work with Mark, because it's so, where I miss, he doesn't miss, or vice versa. And that's what's so beautiful. So you get two incredibly focused experts on you. And the best way is to just start filling it out. And, you know, if you can give us a check or Visa, and we'll run it. And you'll get an email from us after, probably by tomorrow, Monday, confirming that you signed up. And then you'll get the questionnaire, and then you filled the questionnaire out, and then we wait until you've filled the questionnaire out before you're going to get a scheduling link. Why do we do that?
Because you might take forever to fill out the questionnaire.
Right, that's what we found. Some people send it right away, other people take months, some people never do it. And so what I want that questionnaire, so I keep waiting, so I'm not giving anybody the scheduling link. And then we get on the call with you. So, and then also in the questionnaire and in that email, you can attach, you know, if you want us to look at something or other things despite, you know, not your website, or if there's other material you want us to look over, you can attach that. So
I just realized a new added value. I haven't pitched this one. Since you guys are coaches and consultants, and we've demonstrated this today, so you know it's not a line, during that 1 hour call, whenever possible, we'll kind of peel back the curtain and explain why we're doing what we're doing. Does that make sense? So I tried to do that today, and I make fun of it because, you know, I don't know. My whole thing with the selling or manipulation, stuff like that, I have a couple criteria. So if you wonder how we think and our heart behind it, if you have somebody's best interest in mind, and it's a win-win where you're like, yeah, this person can pay me to help them, but I genuinely want to help them meet their goal, that's okay. Like, there are all kinds of, we manipulate our environment 24/7. There's a reason we're standing and we're not in chairs. There's a reason Ingrid came out from the podium. There's a reason, like, we ask you some questions to get you to interact. I mean, it's partly to get you more engaged, you know, for our benefit, but it's just as much so you're engaged, so you learn as much while you're here today. Does it make us unethical to do those things, those sneaky little things, without explaining every one? I don't think so. You know?
Well, that's partly why we like the transparency, because there's so many secrets out there that you can do that can improve your business. And again, by having transparency, I think we really show how to do it without being weird or, you know, manipulative in the wrong way.
And the other thing you can check yourself when you're doing any of this stuff is ask yourself, would I be embarrassed if I got caught doing it? Like, if somebody's realized what I was doing, and you see me, I'm not, like, I laugh and I go, yeah, good catch, you know, let's talk about it so you can use it. But there's nothing I'm ashamed of. Yeah. You know, there's nothing deceptive that way. So
sign up if you really feel from your heart and feel this will be true value. I know we're going to give you value. I'm not in doubt about that.
Beyond one call, we don't know.
Right.
But
we don't know about that.
One call we can do with anybody, and it's a win.
Yeah.
Beyond that, the stakes are higher, and it's really got to be a better filtering process to make sure. So what does it cost to have a website done, the model we're using, if you hire somebody else to do it?
Yes.
Okay.
Assuming that you're competent enough to write your own content, but you don't have...
Hire us or...
No, somebody else.
Somebody else.
Somebody else.
You
Okay.
Oh, okay.
So
Yeah, I just
we
wanna be clear.
What does it cost to build this piece of it?
yeah, and we don't do anything like that separate. We might at some point, just because we've done enough websites and running for people now that we'll probably roll that out. But that's one piece of the puzzle, right? So, and I'm really sharing a secret with you. Don't take advantage of this. What you always want to do is offer somebody the biggest program you think they might go for, because the bigger the program, that is your best chance of helping them reach their goal. The more time you have with somebody and dedicate to something, the more likely they're going to reach the goal. So the smaller the program, just remember that. That's part of it. So you offer the biggest thing that might work for them, they might be willing and able to do, and then if they don't jump on that within a 72-hour window, that's the offer goes away, then you can downsell them and offer them a piece or one of your smaller programs. So that's what we would do there. Is we don't even offer that now, but let's say we had you on the phone and we walk you through and you're interested in our bigger program, and you hem and haw and then you decide not really right for me yet. That's when I'd hit you up with, well, you mentioned this one piece, what if we did that? Because that's better than nothing to help you, right? And for us to get a client. So I would think of it that way. But for actual cost on that, I don't know. I'd have to think about it. But it's just part of our whole package.
Well, it can be anything from $1,500 to $20,000, depending on who you hire. But yeah, don't go cheap, because I've had nightmares with clients before we did this. Partly why I ended up why we do this a lot for clients is, but that's the hardest stuff. They can't do the website. They don't have to do all this stuff. So by us helping them do it, it's like it actually gets done. They actually have a real business and it's up and running really fast versus having, one nightmare with one client is that I referred her to a virtual assistant who built her website, and the virtual assistant got mad at her and locked the client out. And I was so ashamed, because I'd recommended this virtual assistant to hundreds of people. And it was my credibility in line. So I actually had Mark do it for her for free, because I felt so guilty, because it's just not right? So, the other one is that Mark might downsell somebody like that. I don't. All right.
One last question?
Yeah, one last question if there is one. Otherwise, let's wrap it up. So take a deep breath. It's been gorgeous spending these 3 hours with you guys. You're so amazing. And I know Mark and I have so much fun. I hope you can see that, this incredible thing we have together, that really we use each other's strength. And I hope you find the same thing in your business and what you do. And if you work with us or you don't work with us, either way, make sure you leave a business card, but start filling up the form if you want to take that next step with us. But each of you are beautiful, and I really look forward to getting to know each of you more. So thank you.
Ditto.